Welcome to the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. It is Friday, it is noon, and you know what time it is. Today's invocation will be brought to us by Kimberly Jerrig, COO, Center for Neurological Disorders, followed by the national anthem played by past President Doug Briley, President and CEO of Warren Douglas Advertising.
Thank you, President Courtney. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we are thankful for this day that you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, its challenges. May we appreciate and love each day that comes to us. We pray for strength and guidance for each day's duties and each day's problems. Have mercy on your children, Lord. Have mercy on us and send us the guidance for a quick and complete recovery to this COVID pandemic. And we pray especially for those who are currently suffering. Thank you for gathering us together today, and bless us always. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
All right, you may be seated. Play ball. Actually, there will be ball played today. It's lacrosse. I'm going to go to my first lacrosse game and see what, maybe I'll know what lacrosse is. And now it's test time. Here's the test. Four-way test. Number one, is it the truth? Number two, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And now we want to say thank you to our sponsor, Don Boren and Company. Don asked me to remind everybody, pay your dues. You should be receiving your dues statements in the mail here soon. He wanted me to remind you all to pay your dues and make a donation to one of our foundations. And next, we welcome to the stage Patrick Newman, CEO and President of the Botanical Research Institute of Texas, also known as BRIT, for a welcome of our visiting Rotarians and guests. Patrick?
Thank you, President Courtney. We have a few guests with us today. First, Oyinye Okujo. I knew I would get it, but I would have to need some help. So she's a guest of President Courtney, so please welcome. Thank you. Barbara Spayberry is a guest of past President Andy Taft. Abby Akers, guest of Darren George. Abby, is she here? And then Chauncey Bogan, there it is, Chauncey Bogan, also a guest of President Courtney. Chauncey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick. And now here's a time some of you have been waiting for. If you brought a guest, please let them know what's about to happen. It is time for our newscast delivered by Scott Hackler, founder and CEO of Hello Del Santo LLC. Come on up, Scott.
Italian gynecologist Giovanni Miniello was found this week to have tried to persuade patients into having sex with him by claiming it could prevent cervical cancer. His magic flute had healing powers, he told them. I think I speak for everyone in this room when I say, number one, we support the arts, okay? And number two, some people should not see opera. They should not be allowed in the opera. Yeah, yeah. That was for Wesley Gentle. Is he here? That was a joke written for one person. Yeah, because of the opera, I just got in trouble. On Saturday, a passenger exited a Southwest Airlines plane through a rear door while the aircraft was taxiing to a gate at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. The city's CVB wasted no time in rolling out a campaign featuring someone excited to get to Phoenix. Popular Science reported this week that the Russian military has developed a miniature spy robot made to resemble a rock. The US military countered by recruiting Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as a spy. 1 in 44 children in this country are on the autism spectrum, according to a report issued last week by the CDC. And according to daily reports from your coworker Denise, 44 in 44 of the men she's dated in the last 12 years are also on the spectrum. Y'all know Denise too? Yeah. Last week, the Board of Trustees of the University of Florida voted unanimously to award Tom Petty an honorary PhD in music, nearly 4 years after the musician's death. Petty was born and raised in Gainesville and worked for a time as a groundskeeper at the university. In a related story, the University of New Orleans this week posthumously awarded Dr. John a PhD in voodoo, making him an honorary witch doctor. Taylor Swift's hit song, All Too Well, set a record this week as the longest song ever to take the top spot in the Billboard Hot 100 chart. The song is just over 10 minutes in length. Since 1972, Don McLean had held the record for American Pie, which runs 8 minutes and 37 seconds. Upon learning the news, a gracious Swift sent McLean flowers. As of press time, however, he had not received them, as FTD was given as his address a Chevy by the levee. Still looking for that. Sarah Daley, a cafeteria lady in Earlsboro, Oklahoma, was charged this week with possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute after giving cookies baked with marijuana to teachers at her elementary school. Administrators first suspected something was amiss when all the vending machines were cleaned out. Bob Marley and the Wailers' 1976 album Rastaman Vibration was heard on repeat in the teacher's lounge, and 2/3 of the faculty was found asleep at their desks before noon. Last week, just 10 months after failures by the Electric Reliability Council of Texas left millions of Texans in the dark for days in freezing temperatures, Governor Abbott said he could, quote, guarantee the lights will stay on, unquote, this winter. Church leaders across the state applauded his belief in the power of prayer. That's right. In sports news, last week, LSU named as its new head coach, football coach, Brian Kelly of Notre Dame. It has long been speculated Kelly would only leave Notre Dame for a region with a Catholic majority due to his reliance on the Hail Mary. Those last two are set. It's a set of jokes. This next joke is actually this person's own. I report this unadulterated. This is not my joke, but it was funny, I thought. Former U.S. Senator Bob Dole died on Sunday at the age of 98. And his casket lay in state in the Capitol in Washington yesterday. Dole was a Republican presidential candidate and World War II veteran who represented Kansas in Congress for 36 years. After retiring from politics, he joined a prominent DC law firm staffed by well-known Democrats. He joked that he brought his dog to work so he'd have another Republican to talk to. That was great. Tuesday marked the 80th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor. The US declared war on Japan that same day, and 3 days later, Germany and Italy declared war on the US. For this country, World War II had officially begun. It would claim the lives of over 405,000 Americans. In this second week of Advent, which began as Hanukkah was ending, many of the world's faithful are celebrating miracles. a light that, once illuminated, does not go out, a virgin birth. 80 years after Pearl Harbor, this country has no closer allies than Japan, Germany, and Italy. They're right up there with the UK, a nation with which we've been at war not once, but twice. History is not a slow, unrelenting slide into chaos, with every day worse than the one before. Things can and do get better. Bitter enemies can become friends. Believing in miracles makes for a better life. Human eyes have witnessed them, and they continue to happen, sometimes in slow motion. This holiday season, we have reason to hope. May God bless us.
Thank you, Scott. And now I know why the Southwest flight attendant reminds you to leave out of the door that you came into. I was wondering if there was a reason for that warning. We missed one important guest. Representative Stephanie Click is a guest of Don Click. Stephanie, welcome. Thank you for being with us today. And now for a few announcements. We have just concluded our Fall 2021 Grant Award Cycle, so we'll welcome Elliot Goldman to the stage for a check presentation. He is the founder of GL2 Partners. Elliot, come on up.
Thank you, President Courtney. I'm super excited that we're going to be able to support one of the organizations that has not one, but two members of the club. So our first grant, guys come up stage. The first grant of the October grant cycle is going to be awarded to Casa Manana. The money will go to subsidize the cost of bringing theater performances to students at Fort Worth ISD and to help support their scholarship program for their studio classes. Accepting on behalf of Casa Manana is Jessica Walsh, the development director.
Just a quick note, on behalf of the 90,000 students we serve, Casa Manana thanks you so much. We really appreciate this. Thank you.
And now we have an update on a Habitat for Humanity build from Richard Knight, COO and Vice President, Knight Waste Services. Come on up.
Good afternoon, club. Thank you. All right. So many of you are aware that our club sponsored a build day with Trinity Habitat at a Morningside and Davis Street neighborhood back in October. Those of us that were able to participate had such a rewarding experience. I wanted the opportunity to recap some of the highlights from that day for those of you who weren't able to attend. Originally, I wanted the Aguilar family members to be here as our guests today, but they weren't able to accommodate the schedules. So with me today on the stage is Priscilla Miller of Trinity Habitat and Sarah Hughes. And after the slide presentation, or after the meeting, they'll be in the back to answer any questions about Habitat going forward. So let me see if I can get this thing to work here. Okay, so yep, here we are. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, not having the slightest clue of what we're supposed to be getting into. We were told siding and caulking, but we didn't know what that meant. So pictured is Margaret Bowes, Kayla Mosley, Dexter Hickman, J.R. Lavey, Jared Sloan, Akuya Yonful, Abby Dudek, Carol and her daughter Sarah Kibberts, Karen Anfin, Ryan Barrera, yours truly, Matt Kimball, and not pictured is Blake Mormon and Wanda Monder. And Blake, forgive me now, I saw you in the meeting a minute ago. For some reason, I didn't catch you in one of the action shots. I can vouch for you, you were there. So there's Mother Aguilar. You can tell, even with the mask on, the big old smile on her face, grinning ear to ear, just thankful for us helping her make her homeownership dreams come true. Daughter, our eldest daughter, Alejandra, recent college graduate, so she may need some placement opportunities here soon. There's some guy named Philip and Margaret and Jared on the 18-foot ladders, looking like they know what they're doing. There's Strongman, Adrian, Galvan, and Dexter doing yard work for us. There's Mac in his element. And Mac had so much fun, he went down the street to another project and started helping them over there. So when I get ready to remodel my kitchen, I'm calling you. There's Ryan getting his caulk on. JR playing with the ladder. There's Kayla. There's Carol looking nervous on the ladder. And there's the other class clown, Abby, playing with the ladder over here. Yeah, a lot of ladders. There's Abby and Carol's daughter, Sarah. There's Akuya, caught her off guard. She literally flew in from Las Vegas. Her arms were tired, but she still got some painting and caulking done. There's Wanda. Folks painting the siding that was put on the day before. And one more, come on. And a bunch of folks standing around looking like they know what they're doing. So, and then last but not least, so these are the last remaining that made it the entire day. And again, mom and daughter, big smiles. They were really appreciative. We had a great time that day. And we're all under the watchful eye of our mascot for the day, Mr. Paul Harris, who actually got after somebody earlier that morning for cutting up. So, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Priscilla to give her a piece.
Yeah.
And we'll see you after that.
Well, thank you, Richard, for inviting us, and thank you for building. Thank you all for being servant leaders for our community. How many of you have been on a build site? Thank you so much. We hope that you will continue to volunteer with us. And in 2022, on January 17th, we are going to have our first MLK Build Day. And it's a great opportunity. Most of you will have the day off, and that is a day of service to celebrate MLK Jr. And I hope that you will take part of it and come out and build with us. And so other ways that you can be involved are volunteering, donate to the Restore, become a donor. These houses, you know, we need your help to build them, and we also need your help to buy the materials, which are really hard recently. And you can donate to our Restores and become a Habitat Young Professional or an ambassador. But we are so grateful for you and what you do for the community and being part of the build. Thank you all very much. Oh, and Sarah and I will be in the back if you're interested in learning more about MLK Day. Thanks. Build Day.
Thank you for that update. And now I welcome to the stage our secretary, Rebecca Montgomery, Principal Montgomery GR, for a second reading.
Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon, everyone. We have one second reading today. The following proposed new member was submitted during the Friday, December 3rd program. Our proposed new member is Tammy Terra. Classification, Business Service Accounting and Tax Consulting. Tammy is a tax specialist with the Walton Group. Her proposer is Akua Ayomfo. I move her election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
All right, have a first, a second. All in favor? All right, the ayes have it. Welcome, Tammy. Oh, Rebecca, don't run away so fast. We do have a presentation of blue badges. We have two members getting their blue badges. So Mike Brown, if you'll come up and trade badges with me. The other is Jeff Postel. He had an emergency. He texted me he couldn't make it, so we will trade his badge next week. So Mike, come on up. All right, and now we have two new member introductions. So first, I will ask Renika Adkins and her proposer, Michelle Krim, to come on up.
Alrighty, friends, you know that I'm very excited to welcome this next amazing powerhouse of a woman, Renika Adkins. She is the founder and executive director of RISE, which is Resources Inspiring Success and Empowerment. And for the past 5 years, they devoted their energy to passionately dedicate, I'm not wearing my glasses, so hence, advocating for the transitional needs and underrepresented of foster youth and alumni in the community. Think about that, foster kids that age out, that don't have any resources or place to go. So she has a Bachelor of Science degree from Texas Women's University. And yes, and I am proud to welcome her, and please join me in doing a Snoopy happy dance for Renika Adkins.
There we go. Hey, y'all. Hey. As Michelle said, I'm Renika Adkins, and I know they wanted us to come up with one interesting fact, but I have a couple, if that's all right with you. Yeah? Okay, great. So, of the foster youth who age out of the foster care system and actually attend college, only 3% actually finish college. I finished college twice. I have a master's in social work, and of the Black women in technology that make up 5%, I'm also in technology and I make up 5%. And I have one more for you. And this involves Fort Worth. In the city of Fort Worth, my nonprofit hosts the first and only STEM program for girls in foster care. And we've done that for 3 years. So as you welcome me, you also welcome the girls, the youth, and the women that are within those statistics as well. Thank you so much.
All right, and our next new member introduction is Ben Robertson with his proposer, Shanna Saldana. Come on up. True, competitors can be friends. Frenemies, like in banking.
So I have the easiest job of the day because I get to welcome back to our club somebody who most of you probably know. Ben was a member of our club back in 2006, 2007. I hope you will all help us welcome him back. For those of you who don't know Ben, he has a passion for Fort Worth and for making it better. He lives service above self, and we are thrilled to have him back.
Thank you so much. I do, in fact, know most of y'all in this room, but if you don't know me, I would love to meet you over the next few weeks and as we grow our relationship. I am very passionate about my town. I am 5th generation Fort Worth. I have multiple retired city employees in the family, and I think that we are on the cusp of greatness and about to do things in Fort Worth that nobody has ever seen, and we're going to continue to grow and be on a national map. So I'm very excited about that. But more importantly, as was said, in our family, with my children, my wife and I, we believe that you can't change the world from the sidelines, and there is no entity in this town more dedicated to service and taking care of our community than Rotary. And as soon as I could get back and with the right sponsor, I'm happy to be here, and great to know each and every one of y'all, and look forward to what we're going to do together. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so remember my challenge to each one of you to bring one into Rotary, and my number is 300. I'd like to get us back to 300. So if you have not brought a guest, please use your buddy pass and bring a guest to Rotary. And now I want to welcome past President Fernando Costa, Assistant City Manager, City of Fort Worth, our chairperson of the day, to introduce our program. Fernando.
Thank you, President Courtney. I'm fired up our new members and their introductory remarks as exciting. Well, I think I can say that all of us in this room can appreciate the economic vitality and the quality of life that we enjoy in Fort Worth. But perhaps not all of us can fully appreciate the extent to which the Tarrant Regional Water District has contributed to that success by providing us with a reliable system of water supply and flood control and recreation. To tell us that story and to give us a glimpse into the future of water resources in Fort Worth and North Texas, we have with us today Rotarian Dan Buman, whom the Water Board and their chair, Leah King, who's with us today, earlier this year appointed to be just the 7th general manager in the 97-year history of the Tarrant Regional Water District. Dan is originally from Southern California, went to school at Brigham Young University, got a civil engineering degree there, and got a master's in water resources from Colorado State. Spent the first 15 years of his career consulting with water supply agencies around the country, started his own firm, ran it for about 5 years. One of his clients was the Tarrant Regional Water District. The Water District brought him on board to be their deputy general manager. He served in that position for 8 years, where he got a real inside understanding of the agency. And just last summer, after a national search, was selected to run the Tarrant Regional Water District. Dan is well respected by his peers around the country, and recently was elected president of the National Water Supply Alliance. I think you'll agree with me that we're fortunate to have such an able and experienced leader at the helm of the Tarrant Regional Water District. Please join me in welcoming our fellow club member, Dan Buman. Dan.
Well, thank you very much for those kind words. I've spent many hours sitting out there. It's much more comfortable, and there's food. And I always worry about coming up those stairs. Like I don't know if anybody else has that fear, but this fear of tripping on the way up. So I'm glad I made it this far. Well, it really is a privilege talking to you today. I used to live here. So I spent a couple years in Brazil. Amazing place. Love the people, love where I was, just can't say enough good about it. This town I lived in was a lot of fun, good people, but I distinctly remember the morning where we ran out of water. So we used to have a box in the living room, well, living room would be a strong word, somewhere in the place I lived. And a lot of people had them on their roof, but it was this, they called it a caixa, just this box sitting in the room. And that's where our water was. And I remember we would put bleach in there, and I'm horrified now that we were just like, that seems like enough bleach in our water supply. And as a current water supplier, I think, it's amazing I'm alive, first of all, and don't have some disease. But apparently we did it right. And one morning we woke up and there was no water. We thought, that's fine. We'll come back tonight, there'll be no water. We came back that night, no water. So no shower, which if you live in a very hot, humid place, nobody appreciates. The next day, no water. The next night, no water. And we started to think, when does this change? And we're looking at each other like, do you know where to get water? I don't know. I mean, you buy bottles. We had water to drink, but there was just no water. And I think the third day, water showed up. We thought, well, I hope that continues. And every few days, the water would go out. Now, this town will never look different because of that lack of a reliable water supply. This town will never become like Fort Worth because of that fundamental problem. And I will tell you, water is the solution. Water is the solution. So it's amazing what impact water has around the world. There's 800,000 people who die every year from water-related diseases. And that is shocking, right? And that's because there's 2.1 billion people on this planet that don't even have access to clean water. 200 million hours. There are primarily women and girls who spend 200 million hours a year just trying to get water. Not clean water, just water. To drink, to bathe, for everyday use. That's how much time is spent on it. Nearly 1 in 3 people on this planet lack access to clean water. I mean, it is shocking. 2 billion people use a drinking water source contaminated by human waste. I'm sorry, I know we're at lunch, but that is an incredible thought of how many people are drinking contaminated water. And that's because more than 1 in 2 people don't even have access to a decent toilet. 3 in 10 children go to school without clean water. And we see this water crisis happening around the world. Cape Town, Africa, was within literally days of running out of water completely just a few years ago. And we see it closer to home, right? Does anybody know where Flint, Michigan is? Would you have known where Flint, Michigan was until they had a water supply problem? No, I've never heard of Flint, Michigan until now, right? Flint, Michigan, that's a big issue. The Western US, I mean, they are on a terrifyingly close to running out of water because of growth and drought. I don't know if you've been to the West at all lately, and you see the reservoirs, and you see 50 feet of just white, chalky walls on these reservoirs because of how bad the drought is. And then this morning I got up and it was 73 degrees outside. So there's no, if you have a ski trip, forget it. There's no snow right now at all. So it is a shocking, my kids actually were assigned a book report book, and the book, it's fiction, but it's about the West running out of water. I read it, it was actually a really good book, but fascinating. That's what's popular right now because it's a hot topic. Now, my hope is that you hear all of that and you think, wow, that's terrible for those communities. That's terrible for those people. My guess is that nobody in this room thought, yeah, I know what that's like, unless you've lived in a place where that's a reality. But in our community, that's not a reality. And that is an incredible blessing, that this morning you did not have to put a bucket on your head and walk down to the river and get dirty water for your kids. So that blessing, reliable water supply and safety from flooding, those are pillars on which a viable community is built. And we tend to forget about those pillars, right? We don't think about it every day. But as you saw in the numbers, there are billions of people around the planet that's what they think about every day. Will I get water today? Where am I going to get it? How am I going to get it? They can't, I mean, you talk about having a job, right? You can't go to work until you've got water. You can't, you're sick all the time because of the water you drink. This is what the Water District does. I'm very passionate about my job. I love what I do because it has such a significant impact on the people I love. And the Water District does this. We see our job as making community possible. And on top of all that, we don't just try and make it possible, we try and make the quality of that life great as well. If you've ever walked on the Trinity Trail system, that's over 100 miles of Trinity Trails. Those trails were built by TRWD in partnership with the City of Fort Worth, who also has a great trail system. And those are built on the levees. Those are built on a flood control system. We don't think about that, right? As you're walking next to the river, we think, wow, there's the river, that's wonderful. And that river's clean, you can get in that river. Now, if you've lived here for 50 years, I know the look you're giving me right now, like, that's cute. No, really, you can get in the river. I have gotten in the river and I have survived, right? I still have 2 eyes. The river is clean enough to get in. Don't drink it, right? But don't drink any river water, no matter, I'm a backpacker, I go in Colorado, I don't drink the water, even if it's like coming right off that snowpack, because there's a deer, right? You don't drink the water, okay? But that's not just us. The fact that we have a river that you can get in right here, through the 12th largest city in the nation, that is very, very unique. And that's because of the great work that the Water District, the City of Fort Worth, the communities around here have done to keep that water clean. And that's why we enjoy the Trinity Trails. So how do we do that? Well, first is we have a 5-member elected board. We introduced Director King, our board president, here today. This 5-member elected board, we have, it's kind of unique in our industry actually to have an elected board, but we have taxation, we have taxation powers, and so that we do that for our flood control system, and so we have an elected board of directors. And they set the vision for the water district and where we're headed and how we get there. And so we're very grateful to have dedicated people who make a pittance for what they do, and really do it because they're public servants. We plan 50 years into the future. It takes a long time to build water supply. If you told me today, hey, some of you heard of Marvin Nichols Reservoir, it's been in the news a lot. If you said, hey, today, go build Marvin Nichols, it would take me 20 to 30 years. And that's not an issue of backhoes. It's not because we don't have enough equipment. It's because it takes that long to make sure you protect the environment, you protect archaeological sites, you deal with land issues. Obviously, it's difficult to secure that much land. It's contentious politically. Everything that goes along with building a reservoir, it takes massive amounts of time. So we plan 50 years into the future to make sure we have water supply. And while we're doing that, we innovate. So what does water supply look like? Most people don't think of it this way, but this is water supply. So we built a 2,000-acre wetlands. I don't know if you've been there, but this is down near Richland Chambers Reservoir, near Corsicana. So we built 2,000-acre wetlands. So you take a shower, that water goes down the drain. The city of Fort Worth does a fantastic job cleaning up that water. We discharge it back into the river. It flows all the way down to Richland Chambers Reservoir near Corsicana. We pick it back up. We put it through these 2,000 acres of wetlands, which is also essentially a bird sanctuary. We actually do it in partnership with Texas Parks and Wildlife Division. It cleans that water up. We put it back in the lake. We pump it back up here. The city treats it again to an incredibly high standard and delivers it to your home. So that's reusing the water we already have. It also looks like this, reservoirs. I've had lots of people ask me, where does the water come from? What am I drinking exactly? The water in this area comes from reservoirs. We build a dam on the river, and the river is somewhere underneath all that water, and it fills up, right? And you get a reservoir, which means your water comes from rainwater. And I described how difficult it is and how contentious it is to build new reservoirs, but they are the key to supplying a population that continues to grow. We constantly look for other ways. Conservation is one of the most important aspects of what we do, is conserving water, reusing water. But I will tell you, there is definitely a need for more reservoirs. And some people say, what about climate change? Climate change makes the need for more reservoirs. It increases the need for more reservoirs. Because climate change in our area means less rainfall, less frequently rainfall, more intense, which means you have to capture it when it hits the ground, which means we need more storage. Well, sometimes water supply looks like this. These are wells. Now, I said we call it surface water, rain. We use all rain to supply this area. There used to be a lot of wells in this area. And there used to be, because it used to be where you could put a well and maybe 100 feet down and you get water. Now it's 1,000. That's just not viable. You're not going to go do that. A city's not even going to do that. So we don't use groundwater in this area anymore. It does recharge over time, right? I mean, rain hits the ground, it soaks into the ground. If you ever go in San Antonio, you can see it, flowing into the ground. Pouring down these caves, right? Through that karst limestone. Not here. Here it's very slow percolation. You go to West Texas, it's even worse. We are absolutely draining that aquifer permanently because it takes hundreds of years to recharge that aquifer. So in this area, we don't. But what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the ground. So we're going to take water out of the lakes, we're going to clean it, we're going to pump it into the ground through a well, essentially reverse the well, pump it into the ground, store it there. It doesn't evaporate. And we're going to pump it back out when we need it. It's called Aquifer Storage and Recovery because an engineer named it. But ASR, that is a very innovative idea, right? And if you've got a bet, there's a lot of communications people in here. Please see me after. We need help. So this is a big part of what we do too. Very innovative. The Water District is actually, I have a pilot program right now to build one of these. It also looks like this. Our smallest pipeline is 6 foot in diameter. These are big lines. We're putting one in right now that's 9 foot in diameter. They're really cool. So we move water around a lot. We pump water from East Texas up, here to the Metroplex. Moving water around is a big solution. You take it from where it is, and you move it to where you don't have it. But it's also really expensive. We spend sometimes $25 million a year just on electricity to pump water. And so people say, why don't we get water from the Mississippi River? We could, but you're gonna have to put in a lot of pipes, and it's gonna be really, really expensive. What about seawater? Why don't we desalinate seawater? Yes, we can, but it's very expensive, and it's very far away. Now, the Red River actually is pretty close. We don't use it because it's really salty. We could do that. We could do the same thing. We could use the Red River water because it's salty, but we could clean it up. It's just really expensive. What gets to the heart of this idea is it's not just enough water, it's affordability. I'm assuming none of you decided groceries or water bill this month, right? And that's a good thing. We don't want you to have to. If I go to the Mississippi, you're gonna have to make that decision. Christmas ham, water bill, because it's so much more expensive to move the water. And for this room, we're very blessed, right, financially. But when we tend to think of water supply affordability, we think of the person on the fixed income, barely scraping by, that still needs to use water every day. You can't say, well, you get less water because you're poor. Water is a basic necessity of life. There's no choice. It has to be delivered. Otherwise, we end up one of those statistics, and that is not acceptable in our community. So we move water around quite a bit, balancing reliability and cost. We're actually finishing right now. Everything for me, we speak in geologic time. So in the next few years, we're finishing a pipeline. It's working right now. It's operating with the city of Dallas. It's a $2.3 billion water transmission system. And we built it together with the city of Dallas because it saved this region $1 billion. That's how much we saved by doing this together with partnerships. And so I constantly work to meet with partners around the state to say, what can we do together? How can we make this more affordable for everybody? So look, billions of people have to think about water every day. They think about how much time does it take to get it? Is it clean? There's actually stories of girls who go to the river every day to get water and have to dodge crocodiles. And these are true stories. I am so glad we don't have to think about that we can focus on making this community a great place to be because they put water and tea on your table and you never had to think about it. Although I am very offended at places that just give tea during these meetings. So if anybody's listening, I just put that out there. And bottled water, don't get me started. Okay. So that's water. We also operate, maintain, and own a flood control system right through Fort Worth. We tend to think of it in terms of the Trinity Trails, right? Because that's where we walk on these levees. But this is a flood control system. All that green, so a levee is, you think of it like the riverbank, just make it really big. That's a levee. The levee system through Fort Worth was actually built in the 50s by the Army Corps of Engineers. And it was built because of some devastating flooding, which looks like this. So you can see downtown in the, where am I? That was in the foreground, right? Main Street running right to the north. And you can see that's the Trinity River flooded. And this is what it looked like. That's the Montgomery Ward building. Water was to the second story. I don't know how long that horse was on the roof, but he was not happy. So this is what flooding looks like. I went, just a couple months ago, I guess, I went down to Baton Rouge and did storm cleanup, hurricane cleanup for all the flooding that occurred there. And a few years ago, I went to Houston and did the same thing. I'm sure some of you did as well. It is shocking, the impact of a flood on a community. Totally devastating. Everything you own is gone. And that was brought home to me as I'm in these people's homes who had nothing to begin with and now have absolutely no hope. Now, luckily, there's lots of programs that help those people, but if we can prevent that flooding, that is a huge benefit to the community. Now, I told you the Corps built these levees. Why does the federal government do this? So the federal government decided before I was born, many years ago, that they were going to be in the flood control business. Because every dollar they spend, every dollar the Army Corps of Engineers spends on flood control and the other missions returns well over $1 to the nation. It's a great investment. It makes this country money because it prevents disasters, and in many ways it actually produces revenue through things like ports and navigation. So that's why the feds do it. And so the Army Corps, or the federal government, said back, after this flood, they said, okay, we're going to protect this community. And so they built these levees, but they don't own it. They don't operate it. They don't maintain it. That's what we do. So we came in, we own all the land. We're the ones who fix the levees anytime something happens. We maintain them. We're the ones in charge of keeping these things operational. And it was built to protect the community, this community. You can see all these areas in, burnt orange. I didn't go to UT. Burnt orange. These are the areas of the community that those levees protect. Now, what are they protecting? So I would assume everybody here has heard of the Central City Project, also known as Panther Island, also known as the Trinity River Revision, which, for heaven's sakes, let's just talk about the name, okay? First of all, it's called the Central City Project. That's what the Army Corps of Engineers named it. The Army Corps of Engineers is building it. So it's the Central City Project. It creates Panther Island. It creates this opportunity for Panther Island, and I'll talk more about that. And we call it the Trinity River Revision Project because it was this vision for the Trinity River that gave birth to this idea. So let me just tell you how this came to being. The levees protect us against a storm. We call it a 500-year storm. And you've probably heard that term, right? 100-year storm. What that means is there's a 1 in 500 chance that that storm will occur every year. And there's great newspaper clippings all over the nation that say the 100-year storm happened, we won't have one for another 99. So again, engineers named the storms. So 100-year storm means there's a 1 in 100 chance it'll happen in a year. These levees protect us against, they used to protect us against about a 1 in 800-year storm. That's a very low probability event. That number now is 200-year and less. And that's because when the levees were built, it was in the 50s. There were 350,000 people roughly in Fort Worth, and now there's over 900,000. 900,000 people, all of whom put concrete on the land, and that concrete, so instead of the rain landing, and I mean, you guys get this, right? Instead of the rain landing and on the grass and soaking in, it hits the concrete and goes straight to the river. So that same storm, and I'll make it up, let's say it was 10 inches of rain, right? 10 inches of rain in the 50s would have produced this level in the river. 10 inches of rain today produces this level in the river, which means the levees can't protect against that same storm. So the Army Corps of Engineers said, we need to do something different. And they decided, let's put in a river channel. Actually, what they did is they started by saying, let's raise the levees. That was their first idea. And they looked at it and they said, if we invest in that idea, it's a terrible investment. We're going to displace a lot of people because you can't just raise levees. You have to go up and out. Otherwise, they get steeper. You can go back to geometry some other day. But that's the idea, is they said, we don't want to raise the levees because of the impact to the community, because it's not a good investment. So we're going to do something different. Again, these are very low probability events, right? So was Hurricane Harvey. So was Hurricane Ida. So was the winter storm in February. How many of these low probability events have we had lately? It's not the probability, it's the impact. They are unbelievably large impacts, billions and billions of dollars, and forget the money. Public health and happiness and community, that's what gets impacted. So this project is flood control done right. They said, here's what the river looks like today. You can see downtown in the background and the north side there in the foreground. And they said, we're going to build a new river channel. So that's what it's going to look like. So that new river channel creates an island, right, that had a lot of environmental damage on it. The water district has now cleaned up like 99% or something. Almost all of that environmental damage the water district has cleaned up, making that a viable place for this community to grow. But at the heart of it, it's building that new river channel. It's creating flood control. Now, some people will ask, is this not an economic development project? I thought that's what it was. It's not. It's a flood control project. It's flood control done right. But it does create economic development. Again, that's good, right? We could cut everybody off from the river and say, get away, we're controlling floods. But instead we said, hey, let's put trails on it. Let's bring you to it. And so this is how the federal government sees the project. They say the project is a new river with bridges that TxDOT and the city have just completed. Thank you very much. Gates and pump stations and all sorts of infrastructure. That's the project from the federal government's standpoint. That's all they're funding. We then say, okay, that creates Panther Island, which can be developed. We're going to have canals on it. They're not just pretty. They're meant to control the stormwater on the island. But it creates Panther Island. So no, it's not an economic development project, a flood control project, but it's flood control done right. And there's Courtney. So we're actively, let's talk about Courtney. I didn't plan that. So there's been a lot of talk about the Central City project. We do need federal funding. We're working every day to get that. My mission, my goal, and my job is to make this community a viable place to live, a wonderful place to live. And the TRWD board are leaders in making sure the pillars of this community, and they're not the only pillars, I get that, right? But the pillars of this community, water supply and flood control, to make sure that they're adequate, efficient, and done right. Water really is the solution. The TRWD is trying to do flood control the right way. We want to make sure none of you ever have to worry that water will limit economic development, that your quality of life won't be what it should be, that it doesn't affect your child's education, that they don't say, where am I going to go to the bathroom? I remember going into a home in South America and saying, can I use your restroom? And they said, we don't have one. I'd never heard that in my life. I didn't know that was a possibility. I said, well, what can I do? And they said, well, we use the mats, actually don't know the word in English. We use the jungle, basically. We go out, we just go outside. I'm glad we don't have to do that. I'm glad we don't have that experience here. And our job is to make sure that that doesn't become your experience. And it's to do the right thing the right way. We are hyper-focused at the Water District on doing the right things the right way. We're open, we're transparent. We want you to know what we're doing. If you have questions, give me a call. I'll tell you what's happening. We want to make sure we do what's right for this community, but we want to make sure we do it the right way. And that's what we're committed to do. Thank you very much for your time and attention. It is a privilege to talk to you guys today.
We have a small gift from you. Thank you very much. Well, and water, clean water is one of Rotary International's 7 areas of focus, and it is a very important one. And as a person who grew up in a rural area without running water, I got to learn to haul water when I was 12. I learned to drive a truck and a trailer because my parents got tired of doing it. And when you don't have water, you think about it a lot, especially when the tank runs out and you're in the shower. It's not fun. Well, we have a few closing announcements here. Thank you again, Dawn, for your sponsorship. If you too would like to be a sponsor, see Mark Maurer and he can get you hooked up, and you too can be a sponsor and have your company's name here in the front. And thank you to all of the candidates who just participated in our board nomination process. Here is your new board of directors. We want to welcome Kirk Driver, Derek Moffitt, Shanna Saldana, Kathy Sheffield, and Ty Stinson as our new board members. Welcome. And then next week, we will have a new holiday tradition. Some traditions die and morph, and so we will now have the Rotary Holiday Music Review. And we will still have an ugly sweater or holiday attire competition. Blake, you have a great jacket. As we remember, I've been banned from ever using that picture again. And we will start at 11 next week with an eggnog reception and rum punch. Leaded and unleaded options will be available. And with that, our meeting is adjourned.